This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome, everybody, to the Week in Review. It is Sunday, September 8th, 2024. We've got, obviously, a lot to talk about this week as we truck along towards Bad Blood in about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks or so. And a lot to get to as we have a big week, really, next week as well, in terms of SmackDown being moved to USA. It is no longer on Fox. And they have a massive main event next week with Solo Sikoa versus Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed Championship inside of a steel cage. Roman Reigns will be there, and we all know that more than likely he'll be involved in some capacity screwing over Solo Sikoa. There's almost no chance Solo Sikoa, if not no chance, that Solo Sikoa obviously wins here. This is really to further the Solo and Roman story, and it does beg the question what Cody's going to do at Bad Blood, because if this match that's coming up for Bad Blood, presumably Solo versus Roman, takes place and next week is a vehicle to get us to that, where does that leave Cody Rhodes? Does he compete in a triple threat, or does he go some other way, some other path? Does someone turn on Cody that does give him an opponent for Bad Blood? I don't know. Or is it too late? Is it kind of baked in at this point where you have Cody and the Bloodline that'll finish their story, pun intended, I guess, at Bad Blood, and then Cody will move on. And that's when a turn will happen. Either way, and I've been harping on this for weeks, and many of you have as well, a turn needs to happen. There are really too many baby faces on the top end of things on SmackDown, particularly with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. And Randy Orton is an ace, an ace in the hole. You would think he's the next one to really turn. Number one, Randy Orton as a heel is much more enjoyable, much more authentic than this babyface pandering character that we've seen over the last few months. And don't get me wrong, Randy Orton is a legend. I love Randy Orton, one of the greatest of all time. He still has maybe a good half a decade left in him. He even said that. But the fact is that Kevin Owens has already faced Cody. We saw teases of Kevin Owens turning, but he's already faced Cody. I don't think a lot of us are really dying to see that again, although we'd accept it. It's really about Randy Orton here, and I think the turn for Randy could be coming as soon as Bad Blood, or as soon as next week, maybe beyond, but they know that match is a locked-in match. So they could do that while The Rock is scheduled to return over the next couple of months at Survivor Series or shortly thereafter. We have Cody and The Rock potentially lined up. So you could get to a Randy Orton program before that. Lots of paths to go. I just continue to look at Cody's run thus far, including this past week on SmackDown. And despite all of my criticisms of him, and you guys know that I don't particularly love his babyface character. It's just so manufactured and so calculated. Everything about him doesn't feel authentic to me. Again, to me. Not to many of you, and I understand that. But to me, a lot of what he does and says, the way he moves, how slow he speaks, his very much self-awareness of the camera and how slow he moves. And I know it's to show he's in control and confident of himself and all that. I understand the body language he's putting forth and the reason he moves so slow and all. I get it. I understand that. But it's just, it's so icky to watch for me. Again, me. And that said, again, I think he'll be a perfect foil for Randy Orton. I know that that's ready to go. They can't continue with Cody versus the Bloodline in any capacity from now until Rumble or Mania season. They can't do it. I mean, well, they shouldn't. It's not that they can't. They shouldn't do that. It'd be absurd. So you have to have people in between. But Cody Rhodes' run thus far, putting all that aside that I just criticized him about and continue to, his run, I mean, he feels kind of boring as a champion. My biases against him aside, I'm really trying to remove those. He's kind of a boring champion. He doesn't do a ton. I'm not going to say that, and I know there's a lot of criticism of, well, people are complaining how predictable and boring Roman Reigns was as a champion, and that's true to some extent, but here's the thing. I wasn't of the belief that Cody Rhodes would be an exciting champion. Did I think Roman needed to drop the belt? Yes, absolutely. I stand by that. It turned him babyface in an instant. But this idea that Cody Rhodes was going to be this legendary champion and have an exciting run from April till now. I mean, he's been champion since so early April. It's now early September. 5 months he's been champion. And I think generally it's been kind of boring. He comes out, you know exactly what he's going to say. What do you want to talk about? And he now milks that as if it's some kind of just a line that people can't wait for him to say, or at least that's what he believes. And the way he says it is so obnoxious. So, Milwaukee. How anybody even cheers for that? I mean, people should start booing that. I mean, can I start paying people off at these events? I'll give everyone $1. Well, even then that'd be like 15 grand. So I should be careful what I say. But like, what would happen if they booed it? They should. It's one of the most cheap pop lines of all time. As a babyface champion, you shouldn't have to rely on the name of the city to get cheered. But again, everyone wanted Cody to be champion. All the people that were crying over the Cody Rhodes victory, he comes out this week, does the same thing, and he's out there. And by the way, he's even wearing an American flag pin on his suit. I'm telling you, he could be simultaneously running for the United States Senate. It's an election cycle. You'd never know that he's not also running for Senate or House of Representatives or whatever. He looks the part, and a lot of politicians have actually reached out to him in real life. That's saying, hey, when you wrap up your wrestling career, if you want to run for elected office, I got your back, bro. And I believe it. He is already playing a politician on TV. That's really what he is. I know it's kind of an overplayed label on him. I've said it many times, many times on this show. Co-hosts have said it. Drew McIntyre and Air has said it. He actually feels like a politician. Objectively, despite all of my hatred of his babyface character, I watch politicians. As you guys know, I'm big into politics, which, by the way, if you guys go listen to my other podcast, it's called The War on Truth. The War on Truth. That's the name of my my other show. It's a show that, again, the laptop icon with the American flag is my show, not the other one. Go check it out. I'm going to be dropping a new episode today, all about the debate coming up between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. That's going to be dropping today. So, and a new poll that's out. I'll leave it there. But Cody Rhodes feels like a politician, and how people are cheering for this. He dresses like one. He walks like one. He talks like one. He can say a whole lot without saying anything. There's very little substance at times with Cody Rhodes. He panders, which is what politicians do. He's very produced. It's like he's on teleprompter at times. I'm not saying he's a bad promo. In fact, I'd say he's good, very good. But this politician character, which is exactly what Cody Rhodes is, I think is eventually going to be one of the best heels that WWE has ever seen. And it's kind of the same thing I thought with Roman Reigns. Before the whole tribal chief gimmick came along, which has been absolutely one of the best characters WWE has produced in recent memory and has been ultra successful. Before all that, when he was just the big dog, I had said, and you guys, if you haven't listened to the show before, go back if you want. For the past 6 years before that, I said that Roman Reigns turning heel would be the best thing ever for not just him, but for the company. It would be way more successful, way more natural, all of that. I think Cody Rhodes, in some respects, would be the same way. Now, the difference between Roman as a big dog and Cody Rhodes as the babyface now, Cody Rhodes is actually successful as a babyface now. You go listen to the reactions, and what I'm saying here would not ring true with the audience reactions that you hear on a nightly basis with Cody Rhodes. And he does get, I would say, 95% support from the crowd, maybe more. I don't even hear many boos for him, if any. And so there's a little bit of a difference there because Roman Reigns was oftentimes booed as this character when he wasn't supposed to be. Cody Rhodes is getting cheered when he should be. And that's a credit to Cody and the company. So, but my point with this is, I think that the Cody Rhodes heel character would be even more successful than his babyface one because he could easily turn his manufactured just mannerisms and dressing holier than thou and all of his, just all of it. He could easily turn into a heel. If you think I'm just spitting into the wind here and I'm on my island by myself, The Undertaker even said the same thing a few months ago on his show. He said the same thing, that he believes that the money with Cody, the real money, whatever that means, I guess more success, would be with Cody as a heel. And not to say he's not achieving very, very, very high success right now, but even higher as a heel. And so Taker sees what I see. Not to say that I'm as intelligent as Undertaker in the business, but just at least he agrees with me on that front, which does lend a little credibility to my opinion, given that, the effing Undertaker feels the same way. So anyway, I want to move on. I'm not really reviewing anything, am I? I'm just spitting my opinions about what could happen with Cody and I guess analyzing him compared to the big dog character. So let's move on. Let's actually talk about this week in WWE. And, we had Cody and Solo come out and have their little interaction, and having Cody try to turn Jacob Fatu on the Bloodline, which I think at some point will happen. At some point, you'll probably see that happen with Jacob Fatu, who is the heavy for the Bloodline, and you have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, who are really J&J security of the Bloodline in some respects. And Roman Reigns is coming back next week, as we know. But the opening segment with Cody on SmackDown, having both DIY and the Street Profits come to his aid, evening out the numbers game, and then having the GM come out and Nick Aldis come out and say, hey, whoa, guys, unless you want to get fined or suspended, which suddenly he just randomly decides to implement that punishment when almost all the time we see people break out in brawls. So why he decides to, threaten these guys, all 8 guys, with suspension and fines, it's kind of weird. But so anyway, he wanted to keep control, I guess, which made sense if you're trying to create a tag team main event, an 8-man tag, which ended with Solo winning. Solo won that match, and he should have. I also like the fact that DIY and the Street Profits are getting a little bit of the main event rub that they have not gotten in I don't know how long. DIY maybe has never gotten the main event rub. So Street Profits, who have been on a plateaued, I mean, they have plateaued for a very extended period of time now. So I don't know exactly, what the future holds for the Street Profits. They need to do something with them beyond just, they're still the Street Profits from 6 years ago. They need to do something with them of substance, I think. I mean, what they're doing now is it's okay. We just know what they are. It's stale. Dawkins is still incredible in the ring. Montez Ford. But Dawkins has improved. Montez Ford is still the star of the group. But they haven't done anything. They went with Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley leaves. They were heel babyface, and they're kind of just a generic babyface team right now that's helping out helping out Cody Rhodes. But they're going to go back to obscurity. They're not going to stick with the Bloodline program, I don't think, for very long. In fact, next week they probably will be forgotten that they even feuded with them. And they'll maybe battle DIY for a shot at the tag team championships or something. But so the 8-man tag was good. I thought that was a good match. Not very long. But having Solo get the victory, of course, was important because you have Solo next week competing for the WWE Undisputed Championship. You have to make him look as strong as possible. They also need a victory to further the Roman Reigns storyline, which, of course, is going to pick up next week. And maybe for my God, after 5 weeks, we might hear from Roman Reigns. Wouldn't you want to hear from Roman? Talk, especially with the Jacob Fatu family dynamic here with Tama Tonga Loa. Now, it's not just about Solo and Roman, although that's the main thread. What about talking to Jacob Fatu? Having a conversation with him, or at least inside in the ring, or when one of them's on the ramp, the other one's in the ring. I don't know. I went on a bit of a tirade about this, but it's getting insane. We're going on 5 weeks and we have not heard a peep from Roman Reigns. And it's not to say that, oh, he's not here. We know what Roman Reigns' schedule is now. We've just accepted it. Even as a babyface, he's not going to be appearing for many more dates, it looks like, anyway. And that's fine. We at this point, we're just like, we've given up. It's like, okay, got it. Roman's going to be here every 5 weeks. Got it. Maybe he'll come on, there'll be a segment where he'll be there 2 weeks in a row and then he'll be gone for 4. Got it. We all know. So I'm not complaining about that per se. I'm just complaining about the appearances he has made. The ones he's actually there for, they need to make the best use of. And I think that outside of, let me just attack Solo. Well, we kind of know why you are, but wouldn't we want to hear it from you? Wouldn't we want to hear a little bit of justification? I mean, this is your family you're attacking. Can you just give us a little bit of background as to what you're thinking, as to what, throughout this whole 6 months that you've been gone, why you're attacking him, what you were thinking while you were watching Solo take the reins, no pun intended, while he was claiming that you weren't coming back, while he took the throne, so to speak, why, and what you were thinking sitting on your couch or wherever you were, it'd be nice to hear some background, and I'm sure we'll get it, but it's a little bit backwards here. It's a little bit backwards, and I think it takes a little bit of the punch out of the Roman return, a little bit. Not to say this is going to be a failure, absolutely not. This is one of the best storylines that they've produced, at least one of the longest running storylines that they've produced, successful long-term storylines that they've produced. When it goes back to like 2020, I mean, they're going to be going on 5 years of the Bloodline story. 5 years. It's incredible. They're going on next year, in just a few months, they're going to be going on 5 years of this Bloodline story. And we're still talking about it. It's incredible. So it's not to me having me complain about Roman not being there. We know what that is now. And so it's more just about hearing from him. He's not the big dog talking suffer and succotash anymore. He is a polished performer that has improved, although he's still not, I wouldn't say he's very good on the mic. I would say he's okay to good. That's a big improvement from where he was. I don't think he's still capable of cutting a lights out A+ promo. I don't think I've ever seen that, actually. Has anyone ever seen a Roman Reigns lights out, oh my God, just jaw-dropping promo? No, I haven't. I don't think that's necessary for him to do. He's already etched himself in the Hall of Fame. He's already there. There's no need for him to really worry about that. If that's not what he can do, it's not what he can do. But my point is that he's more than capable enough now, finally, to cut a good promo, maybe even a very good one, and get us to a point where we're super excited and we understand what's going through your head. Enough with the Superman punches on Solo. Like, we all want to see that, yes, but like, tell us why. Give us a story. You guys are all about telling stories. You tell us that all the time. Ad nauseum. We hear all the time how you're in the business of telling stories, right? Okay. And yes, sure, some of the story can be told in the ring. Sure. But we actually need to hear words once in a while. And with one of the biggest stories you have, we haven't heard any words. We've heard it from Solo, but we haven't heard it from the guy that hasn't been here in 6 months. Kind of important. But, all right. So I'll get off my soapbox. I'm going on rants today. I guess it's because I'm doing my show early. I have more energy than at night. All right. So let's continue here. Again, a little bit of SmackDown, a little bit of Raw. Raw will be more of a reminder, kind of a wrap up to tomorrow night's Monday Night Raw. And let's see. So we also got Tiffany Stratton and Bayley. All right. And Bayley, good to see her. She has been in a weird spot since pre-Mania to post-Mania. And I don't really know like what she is still. And this match, I think it was fine. It ended, of course, with Bayley beating Stratton in 10 minutes. That was good. She got the rose plant for the victory. And then after the match, Bayley was yelling at Nia for a bit. Excuse me. So I guess they're going to continue maybe the Bayley and Nia Jax program for a little while. But yeah, Stratton getting a little bit of, rub, for lack of a better term, from Bayley continues to help Stratton. And you wonder if she's ever going to turn on Nia. That's been teased and teased and teased and teased. Eventually, I think it'll probably happen, but it's just no at least in the short term, I don't think there's an expectation of that. I do want to see Nia Jax continue with what she's doing. She has turned into the typical heel, I'm the queen, I'm the king, I'm suddenly playing dress up and you're all supposed to bow to me. It's to me, an exhaustive, overplayed, I guess, a character for those heels that win those kinds of tournaments. It's not my favorite, but it's something much more significant for Nia to do than I thought there was ever going to be planned for her upon a return to the company. So this is, to me, still interesting. It's interesting, but I don't think there's any chance that Nia Jax drops the belt anytime soon, especially when you look at the Triple H regime. We know that he is a big fan of longer title reigns. For the most part, outside of a few exceptions, he's been very much steadfast on long title reigns. When titles change hands, they should mean something, not just for shock value, but for actual storyline purposes. And Triple H has been very much a believer of that. I mean, he doesn't need to say it. We can see it. So that said, I don't think Nia's going to drop the belt anytime soon. Maybe as early as the Rumble, but probably past Mania even. Even if not, I mean, I could honestly see Nia Jax winning her match at Mania, and that's when Stratton cashes in. Is at WrestleMania. That's my early, very early, 7 months away, longer, prediction for WrestleMania is I could see Nia Jax actually going to WrestleMania as champion if she doesn't get hurt before that. And having Stratton cash in on her after the match. So that's my take. I think Stratton wins. Super early take. If anybody remembers to come back to this show from September 8th, 2024, from at WrestleMania 41 and say that, hey, remember you said all the way back in September that Nia Jax was going to drop the belt to Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania? Well, if anybody remembers, I certainly won't. Then cool. All right. Well, let's go on here. Apollo Crews and Giovanni Vinci. This was just 4 seconds of Apollo Crews beating Giovanni Vinci, and this was as Vinci was taking the time to get his coat off, the referee rang the bell, and Crews rolled up Giovanni Vinci with a crucifix and pinned him immediately. Okay. So Giovanni Vinci, who was seemingly being rebranded as some kind of James Bond character, like Cesaro or something, you want a little bit of momentum for him, and this is not a great way to do it. Apollo Crews is cold. Kind of a weird thing to do, but maybe he can actually win in a loss here. It's not everything that you lose the match or win the match. It's sometimes and oftentimes how you lose or win. So we'll see what they do with Giovanni Vinci. And if this is a trend that continues where he's just, not paying attention, or he continues to lose, taking off his ring gear, that'd be kind of funny for a little while. It would actually get him maybe more attention than he otherwise would. So it's kind of this is pro wrestling at its best, right? Sometimes you can get somebody over by having them constantly lose. How? Because it's how they lose. If it's funny that he keeps losing because of ridiculous circumstances, that'd be kind of funny. So maybe they continue this for a short term. It's not sustainable long term, but you could get him a little bit of attention and some fan adulation, and seeing how ridiculous things get for Giovanni Vinci. Bad luck, taking off ring gear, not paying attention, and he loses the match very quickly. I mean, you could get him some notoriety by doing that in a hilarious way, and then eventually get things rolling for him. But it's kind of a creative way if they decide to continue on this path. All right. Kevin Owens and Grayson Waller and versus Austin Theory. There's a triple threat here. 10 minutes, Kevin Owens beats Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, but with the stunner, but it ended with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory at the end of the match beating down Kevin Owens to stand tall. And there's continuing to be that kind of just, I guess, teasing of the split of Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, A-Town Down Under. They eventually, I think, will, and I think the crowd will side with Theory. They kind of were ready for the split. I mean, you heard the crowd on Friday. They were ready for Austin Theory to drop Waller. I mean, Austin Theory, when this does happen, will be the babyface in the split. So, I mean, I'm ready for it. And Kevin Owens right now, back to where he's always been. He touches the main event and then gets kicked back down to the upper mid card. That's his life. That's been his story. And the fact when Michael Cole pointed it out that Kevin Owens hasn't been a singles champion in WWE. What did he say? 7 years? I think he pointed that out at Bash in Berlin. How is that even possible? It's incredible. Sad. But also a tribute or a credit to Kevin Owens to continue to remain a top guy, not winning a belt. But I also think it's time for him to do something like that. The problem is, where's he going to go? He's not going to certainly beat Cody Rhodes. That's not going to happen. Even if he turns heel, he's not beating him. And we've just saw that match. And also, he's not going to challenge LA Knight for the United States Championship because it's LA Knight. Unless you're going to turn Kevin Owens heel. Plus, LA Knight just won it. You're not going to drop it, especially with the role LA Knight's on. It would make no sense. So Kevin Owens is once again back to where his comfort zone is as a star, as a wrestler in WWE. Still a good place to be, but it just feels like he can't ever reach the top and stay there. He just touches it and then gets kicked back to the upper mid card. And yeah, that's just what it is for Kevin. So we'll see if that we'll see if that changes in 2025. I would suspect, I'm doing a lot of predictions today, that in 2025, Kevin Owens will reclaim singles gold and probably the United States Championship. If he turns heel, I could see later in 2025 having him beat LA Knight or whoever the current champion is for the United States Championship. All right. Well, let's see what else happened. Oh, we had also Cody Rhodes did point out, and I give him credit for this, that Michael Cole is back and he's on SmackDown and, basically gave him his flowers. And I think Michael Cole has finally earned the respect of fans after 30 years. And he came after one of the greatest of all time, and Jim Ross, constantly compared to him. Was never as good, but no one is as good as Jim Ross was. Just it's an unfair comparison. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. But what I really liked for Cole was that he got a Michael Cole chant. Have you ever heard a Michael Cole chant? I've never heard it. Never. So that may be the first time in his career that he had that chance. So I felt good for him. He's deserving of it. He's an absolute workhorse. The guy has missed 2 days out of 20 some years. He has a streak of, or some insane amount of time that he's not missed, which is only a couple days. I mean, I think I've missed 2 days of work in the last 7 days, So good for Cole. He has an absolute just monster and has a crazy work ethic. And I have nothing but respect for him. All right, so LA Knight comes out, big pop, and he bragged about having 2 U.S. title defenses in 30 days in 2 different continents, and he was interrupted pretty quick by Carmelo Hayes, who bragged about carrying SmackDown on his back with the match of the night over the past month. And Knight said 2 title defenses is important because it's more than his predecessor in 10 months. And he said that while Hayes was focused on the match of the night, he was focused on winning, and that's why he's champion and Hayes is not. I love this. It's exactly right. This, and not just in storyline, but in actual real life. This is like it's a punch to the belief that having the match of the night is so important, and tearing the house down and making history and all that stuff that shouldn't be said on air, that talent have brought on air. They're so concerned these days about having the best match, and what did Dolph Ziggler say, that he would steal the show or show steal or whatever. And Shawn Michaels had that, but he actually was. And so this is just great because it's saying, yeah, well, that's great. While you're focused on having the match of the night, I'm worried about winning. Yes. Thank you. That's exactly what you should be worried about. That other stuff about having match of the night and tearing the house down and having the, listen to the crowd, all that crap is secondary or tertiary. It's stuff that maybe the announcers talk about, but the talent shouldn't talk about that. They should be worried about effing winning a match. And we've all just accepted the fact that let's go out and make history. Sasha Banks was famous for that. Becky Lynch would say it a lot too. It's like, no, you guys shouldn't talk about that. Like, that's for the announcers and the fans to talk about, or you can talk about it after your career is complete. That stuff it's because it takes us out of the moment, I think, and it brings us to a place where it's, oh, that's right, they're performing. They're worried about great matches. It's like, no, great matches should happen just by chance. Even though we all know they're trying to have a great match and put on a show, that shouldn't be what they tell us they're trying to do. And they continue to do it. So I really like this line by LA Knight. Andrade then interrupted and reminded everyone he defeated Hayes twice. And they argued about who was more deserving of a U.S. title match. And Knight said if they wanted to fight over who got dropped on their head by him, that's fine. And Andrade said that title used to be his and spoke in Spanish. And then Knight told him he didn't understand, but he said he should check his tone. Mello then got in his face. They started to fight. Knight dropped them both with BFTs while they were distracted and left them in the ring. So Knight got a really strong segment here. Good promo. Dropped them both. This, I think, is leading to a triple threat, maybe at Bad Blood or on SmackDown. They're certainly not shy of doing title matches on SmackDown. For God's sakes, they're doing the top title in the company is being defended next week. And a lot of that is due to two factors. The fact that they're going to be re-debuting on USA. And then they're also bringing back Roman Reigns from his 3-4 weeks he hasn't been on, 3 weeks on SmackDown as well. So, two big factors, trying to get a lot of attention on the show. And so they're not shy about doing that. So I'm not worried that they're going to not do it ever. I think that this triple threat will probably be done, I would think, at Bad Blood. It's deserving of the PLE. I think that match would be a lot of fun, but it could also happen on SmackDown. So good segment. Michin versus Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green beats Michin in just over 4 minutes. Chelsea Green continues to be a lot of fun to watch. And she ended up winning with an unpretty her for the victory. And Chelsea Green doesn't get a whole lot of victories, so when she gets them, they're precious. So it's good to see, good to see her get a victory. And her and Piper Niven continue to have really good chemistry. It's one of those pairings that you don't know the chemistry's there until you put them on air and the red light goes on and you're like, we might have something here. Piper Niven and her are fun to watch because Chelsea Green can run her mouth and then hide behind Piper Niven. That's just a fun dynamic. I mean, Chelsea Green is also ultra entertaining as her heel character that also is kind of beloved. It's weird. So is she truly a heel? I mean, you can make that argument, but she's obnoxious, but also entertaining, gets under your skin, but you like to watch her. It's a very interesting line she's walking, but it's one that's difficult to do. And I think Chelsea Green has certainly more to give to the company. And at some point, if they ever want to give her a real push, I think that they'd find success with her. She's good in the ring. She's fun to listen to on the mic. She's obnoxious. All the things that you want as a heel, but also one that is kind of a babyface too. It's weird. All right. So again, we already talked about the main event here. Let's go to Monday Night Raw as very, very quickly here as let's see, I have to remind myself what the heck happened. Oh, we got a Drew McIntyre and Punk segment here that ended with Drew McIntyre taking the bracelet of Punk, and as Punk was trying to move on to the world title match or world title picture with Gunther, you have Drew McIntyre appear again and Claymore and taking the bracelet, snapping the bracelet, shoving the bracelet down the throat of Punk. Punk's bleeding as he's being stretchered out. Really, effective segment that is, I think, leading to a Hell in a Cell match between Drew and Punk at Bad Blood. Also in honorarium of Taker HBK's Bad Blood match that took place the very first Bad Blood and the very first Hell in a Cell match as well that I talk probably way too much about. So that, I think, was a very effective segment on Raw. Clearly, their program will end at Bad Blood. The question is, though, here's a more interesting question. Even more than who wins that match. What do they both do after? They've been so intertwined with one another since, my God, the Royal Rumble, when Drew McIntyre tore the tricep of Punk with the Future Shock DDT. Like, what happens with those two after? It's very interesting. Win, lose, or draw for both guys. I don't think it's going to really affect either guy too much. What happens? Where does Drew go? Where does Punk go? It's fun to think about. A lot of possibilities. Punk is not going to immediately move on to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has taken a bit of a break here, healing his body. After, if you remember, about a month ago, the tsunamis, like the 18 tsunamis by Bronson Reed. So you wonder, where are they going? Punk and Seth is probably WrestleMania bound. So what do you guys think? That's a good mailbag question. What do you think? You think it's going to be still a Punk Drew 4? I mean, that's possible, but I don't think I'd want to see it. And most people would be kind of burned out of it. Maybe Punk does go into the title picture. Maybe he finally says, okay, now I'm really done with Drew. Gunther, where are you at? And for Drew, good question. Maybe he also tries to compete for the title, but you obviously know that heel-to-heel championship transfers are very rare. So, all right. So we also got Dom and Rhea, more of that, and Liv. And she tried to break the knee of Rhea Ripley, and Rhea Ripley ended up being slightly injured, but not as injured as Liv hoped she would be after she tried to and did attack Liv with the crutch. We had, a 6-person tag match, Julius Brutus and Ivy Nile versus Otis, Akira Tozawa, and Maxine in a 6-person tag. This ended with Julius Brutus Creed and Ivy Nile beating Otis, Akira, and Maxine. Although Maxine had a very good night. I did note that in my Raw review. She had probably her best night ever inside the ring. I mean, Maxine brought it. Whatever that was, she needs to hold on to. Whatever fire, whatever clicked in her brain, she needs to hold on to that. It's exactly what Maxine needs to be and continue to show the fans. That was a lot of fun for Maxine. But Uncle Howdy appeared after the victory by Julius Brutus and Ivy Nile, and then he talked about it's been 375 days since his sanity crumbled, and his past is in the void now, and so yeah, I mean the Wyatt Six are still not done with American Made, and that's fine, but eventually they're going to have to move on. And the one I think program eventually you'd want to see is the Wyatt Six versus the Bloodline. I mean, the problem is twofold. Two big barriers is they're on separate shows, and also the Bloodline is clearly headed towards a Roman Reigns OC or the OTC Bloodline, or the OT. Or the original. I'll just say, because OTC Bloodline, it makes no sense. But the original Bloodline versus the Rogue Bloodline, that is clearly where they're headed. So the Wyatt Six are nowhere near that yet. But if they hold together as a group and they're successful as a group, you could see these two having a crossover match. I mean, they just brought Randy Orton over with no explanation to challenge Gunther for the world title. None. So they have no shame still about the brand rules and no respect for them at all. So even the fact that they're on separate brands doesn't matter to the company. But Shayna Baszler also defeated Zelina Vega in 6.5 minutes. And what else happened? I already talked about the Punk and McIntyre stuff. Joe Tessitore had a good night, the new announcer for Raw. I think he did. I know a lot of you were not impressed with him. I thought he did just fine. And you have to remember, as I said in my Raw review, he is not Pat McAfee. You have been conditioned to think of Raw as high energy by the announcers. He's not Pat McAfee. So get that out of your head. Unfortunately, for those of you that don't like Joe Tessitore, his style, well, you might want to get used to it. He's not going to be yelling and jumping on his chair like Pat does. Dragunov versus Dragon Lee versus Dom in a triple threat for the shot at the Intercontinental title. And Dragunov won to advance into the Fatal 4-Way that happens, I believe, tomorrow night. And let's see, Io Sky and Kairi Sane versus Alba Fire and Isla Dawn for a shot at the women's tag titles. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn won, so they're going to get another shot at the tag titles to face Belair and Cargill. And Sane had a busted face. I'm not sure where she got cut exactly, but it appeared she was okay. And we also then had Gunther talking about he beat the best version of Randy. And Sami Zayn confronted Gunther, and so it looks like a Sami Zayn Gunther match is on the ticket. So we'll see how that works out for Sammy. Again, outside of every promo, he screams in every promo. He's forever looked at as the underdog because he just looks like one. He just does. And I think that you're going to have obviously a very good match, but is anyone really going to be on the side of believing Sami Zayn can win? It's just, no, it's not going to happen. No way. No way. There's no reason for it outside of, wow, shock value. They swerved us. Okay, you swerved us. We're wrong. But now what are you going to do with that decision? So I guess that's really, that's where I would land. If WWE tries to shock us, Gunther loses. Oh my God, what? Sami Zayn is the new champion. Fans will go crazy in that moment. And I would give it like a 1% chance of happening. But then I would say to them, again, they would have to answer to the next question, which is, now what? Okay, you shocked us. That got a nice, some nice spike in ratings and curiosity. I mean, people would explode all over X. And sure, you got that short-term boost. Here's a more important question. The follow-up is, now what? Now what? And I don't think they're going to have an answer for that. So there's no reason to do this. All right. Sheamus versus Ludwig versus Braun Strowman in a triple threat for the shot at the IC title. And we got, let's see, Braun Strowman winning. That's right. Braun Strowman won at about 7 minutes to advance. And that was surprising to see Strowman go over. But it adds some star power to the otherwise kind of mediocre lineup for that fatal four-way that's happening this week. And let's see. Then we had the Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus Damian Priest and Jey Uso in a non-title match. And that ended with Damian Priest and Jey Uso winning the against JD and Finn in a non-title match. And that was fine. I mean, it was fine. Yeah, this was a show that, again, is slowly building towards Bad Blood. Ultimately, we're going to be looking towards Survivor Series, which is, I know a lot of people are overlooking Bad Blood, and I wouldn't. Bad Blood is a wrap-up show for a lot of programs, and I wouldn't overlook it. I really wouldn't. All right, well, before we get to one voicemail that I forgot on the mailbag, we're going to get to it right now, but I want to let you know that if you're interested in joining us over at Patreon, you can get a week for free as a trial member. You can also get a week for free on Apple. Both of them offer free trials, and you can get in the door for as little as $1 a month, and then you can join us and go up in tier from there if you'd like. But over on Patreon, join us at patreon.com/WWE podcast. And also join us on the other side of things, on the non-wrestling talk, politics and culture. It's called The War on Truth. Find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We should be pretty much everywhere at this point. And it's called The War on Truth. We're the logo with the computer, the laptop, and the American flag. That's us. So check us out there if you want. But let's get to that final voicemail and wrap the show up.
Ask the French guy here, your current European champion. How can I say that I'm European champion when the world heavyweight champion Gunther was in Europe just about a week ago and defended successfully the World Heavyweight Championship on Germany. Reminder, of course, he's not German, but he's from Austria. That's pretty much a German country as well. We can qualify it as German as for the language, but that's it. And also maybe like common history, but in Europe, that's I would say that you have a lot of history, including in France. But yeah, the subject of today is none other than our WWE champion, Cody Rhodes. I really wonder where WWE is going with this, because I think they want to keep, when he successfully retained the championship against Kevin Owens, which was, I think, an error for Kevin Owens as well as Cody Rhodes, because those, Cody Rhodes is not Roman Reigns, and he's there all the time defending against anyone, which was actually the contrary of what Roman did. He was not here at all defending against a little bit of the challenger. I think he needs, of course, like to face more, worthy opponents. And not that we need him to lose right away. He will not. But at least to have like some opponent that makes Cody Rhodes in jeopardy, that have a good storyline, that have some heat, and at least to establish names with Cody Rhodes and establish himself. Because like Kevin Owens this match did nothing for the championship and did nothing for Kevin Owens. So my opinion is that they need, I don't know, why not, my idea is Cody Rhodes versus the faction of Karrion Kross. I know he's not, the first one that we think about for championship, but it will help Cody Rhodes. It will help Karrion Kross. In both ways, that's a win. But as for now, the championship is in jeopardy, and Cody Rhodes a little bit too. Bye, guys.
What's going on, man? I hope you're doing well. So there aren't a ton of credible opponents that he could face at this point that you would say, oh man, that's really in jeopardy. Karrion Kross, I have no problem with. In fact, Karrion Kross is a guy that's been sorely underutilized, a guy that really has not gotten going. And just when you think they've done this like 5 times, they pull him back. They let him get a little bit with this new group and Paul Ellering, and then he disappears for a month and a half. They can't ever get him going, so I don't have any faith in that match. Although I would like it, and I think Karrion Kross is underutilized pretty heavily. That said, I mean, you also have to look at the length. No matter who he faces, Andre the Giant could rise from the dead, and the fact is that he just won the championship. Cody won it at WrestleMania 5 months ago, and you may say, well, that's long enough, and as long as he gets to SummerSlam. No, because that championship that he took from Roman was, people wanted Roman to lose the belt so bad for so long. You're not going to just have the guy that beat Roman drop the belt in under a year. You wouldn't think that would make, because then you're trying to sell the bill of goods to the fans that, hey, this is also a new era, right? Triple H said that countless times leading up to and post WrestleMania, that this is a new era. This is a new era. The ushering in of a new era, new era, new era. And the face of that new era is Cody Rhodes. That will lead you to believe this title run is nowhere near ending. Nowhere near ending. And again, I say nowhere near, meaning I think the first time it could be in jeopardy is WrestleMania. I think he'll go at least a year with that belt. At least. Minimum. He could go a little longer, but he's not going to come to Roman Reigns' title run. People would be like, are you kidding me? Every run doesn't need to be 4 years long. My God. But I think Cody Rhodes is at minimum for a year to WrestleMania 41, and he has a very good chance of losing at WrestleMania 41. Now, if you're looking at actual opponents that you could make a case for, I did a little bit earlier in the show with Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton is a perfect candidate to turn on Cody and win. Randy Orton is with the company at least for another 5 years, from what I understand, which, by the way, Hulk Hogan also signed to a 5-year deal for those that care. That's 71 years old. But Randy Orton is a perfect candidate for that. I think Randy Orton does have another run in him when it comes to being champion. Randy Orton is a true threat to Cody Rhodes. That story is going to be magnificent, given their history and legacy. You have a great story already pre-written. You don't need to build a whole bunch. You just need to pull old footage, have the two guys talk about it. Why did Randy turn? Blah, blah, blah. Easy. Easy to do. I think Randy Orton's at the top of that list. Kevin Owens doesn't really excite me because there's no chance. And looking at the rest of the roster, LA Knight would be a threat. But again, you're not going to have a babyface take the belt from Cody. And LA Knight's not turning heel anytime soon. He's on his own path parallel to Cody. He'll be champion for a while longer too, and maybe through WrestleMania. So LA Knight eventually I think could win, but not at this time. He's on another path right now. Roman Reigns, I guess, could. But I don't know if people are ready for that again. I think Roman Reigns, that's a good question, I guess, that I'm going to pose to you guys is also for the mailbag. If you guys would propose, do you think Roman Reigns ever has another run as champion? My guess is yes, but it's not going to be for probably a couple of years. So I think that there is another one in there. Not 4 years long, but probably 6 months or so as champion, whenever that does happen in a year or two. But you look at the rest of the roster, Randy Orton is a prime candidate for this. Solo Sikoa is not. And you look at the rest of the roster, man, I don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, Logan Paul, maybe. Logan Paul is on the roster. Him beating Cody Rhodes, they could have a program. Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul. That'd be fun. How about that? Logan Paul would be a nice fill-in for a couple of months as he moves away from LA Knight. Logan Paul attacking Cody Rhodes before Randy Orton does. Yeah, I like that. Logan Paul also winning, I wouldn't hate. This sounds insane coming from where I viewed Logan Paul just a year or two ago. I think Logan Paul with the world title, or even the WWE Undisputed title, would be a lot of fun. I think Logan Paul has something in him that is just perfect. It's tailor-made to be a WWE star. And Logan Paul has the fans against him. He's an arrogant SOB, but he can perform his ass off. I love it. Logan Paul, Randy Orton, two top guys. Of course, you have AJ Styles still floating around on SmackDown as well. But that's it. There's nobody else. I mean, the rest of the guys, do you want me to name them? Angel, Austin Theory, Berto, Grayson Waller, Kit Wilson. Are you kidding me? Carl Anderson. There's no one. Shinsuke? No. Santos Escobar? No. Tongaloa? No. Tama No. Tommaso Ciampa? LOL. Johnny Gargano? I mean, Luke Gallows? Come on. That's it. Those are the two guys, maybe three, as I said with AJ. Randy Orton, Logan Paul, and maybe AJ Styles. That's it. And of course, Roman Reigns and Solo floating around, but they have their own program going on. And yes, The Rock is also floating around too. The Rock is coming for Cody. The thing is, and I've said this before, I'll continue to say it because it's so important to remember, The Rock said to Cody Rhodes before he left, as they traded each other's belts, the People's Championship that Muhammad Ali's wife gave him, that championship that she bestowed upon him, Cody held that while The Rock held the undisputed title. And it was symbolic of, when I return, this is the match you're going to get. So Cody's not dropping the belt until The Rock returns and they have their inevitable match. So The Rock is also very, very plausible to beat Cody. In fact, I hope he does. That's just I would love The Rock to beat Cody. So, okay, you have more than a couple now. I've just named a few. You have Logan Paul. You have, although AJ Styles is fringe, I would say AJ Styles. Let me take AJ Styles out. I mean, he could challenge, but he's out. He'll challenge him, but there's no chance. Randy Orton, Logan Paul, and The Rock. Perfect three great opponents for Cody over the next several months. I mean, you could get to WrestleMania really with those three guys. So, good question. Love it. All right. I'll conclude there. Hope you guys enjoyed the weekend review. Go ad-free. Check out my new podcast, The War on Truth. And that's really it. I guess I'll stop selling you a bill of goods. All right. So that'll be it. I guess I will talk to you guys on Tuesday for the Raw review. Until then, take care.